They weren't named in intent to do anything but honor.
That game is not time to sit still like totem pole. It's time to shout and make them great celebration.
Change the name! Change the mascot!
The name of the Washington Redskins is about 100th on the list of issues facing Native American communities today.
Native American children see visually Native American mascots. Their self-esteem goes down.
And they're not going to change the name. The name is going to stay.
The next thing you know, they're going to want to change the name of the state of Oklahoma because it's home of the red man.
Their mood goes down. Their belief in their ability to achieve goes down.
If something you're promoting is insensitive to many, many people, maybe you should go with something that won't be.
Really, honestly, you guys need to go home because we support the Indians. I think the Indians would be proud of the fact that we're sitting here putting their name on shirts.
They said most of us aren't offended because most of you aren't Native American. Like, that's not a valid argument.
There's no honor in racism.
Indians, but if you're quiet about the Indians and now you got something to say about my shirt, I think it's time for introspection.
Indians, warriors, savages, chiefs, braves, redskins. These names stir up emotions all across the United States and across Indian country itself. I've been fortunate enough to speak with Native people on both sides of this issue. And in the next half hour, you'll hear their stories. This program is not meant to take a stance one way or another, but to encourage a discussion on this sensitive subject. The first national mascot controversy happened in Norman, Oklahoma, not far from our studios here. Here's Randy Palmer with the story of how he became the last Little Red. You led the cheerleaders out? Is that how it was?
And the football team's right behind us.
So you get to lead them out on the field?
Yeah.
Well, that must have been fun. Randy Palmer has enough pictures, articles, and newspaper clippings to write a book about OU's native mascot. What do you think about this headline? OU fans are the You know what? I don't think you see that these days. Palmer danced as Little Red during the 1970 and 71 football seasons. He'd performed at football games at high school just the year before, but knew OU's controversial mascot was no longer used. However, a frat party conversation got the 18-year-old to thinking.
And he was going, well, this guy used to dance for Anadarko. And these guys going, well, you going to be Little Red? And I said, well, it's been abolished. And that's where the trouble began. Rumors spread that I was going to, violate, policy. And I had no intention of doing that. I was just minding my own business. And they started giving me a hard time. And I said, well, if they're going to mess with me, I didn't do anything. But if they're going to push it, then I'll go ahead and do it.
They was OU student government, and it did not want any more negative publicity about the former mascot. The national headlines had stopped only a few months earlier. Now, Randy Palmer was on a mission.
My mom sent my dad to the stadium. Don't let that boy do anything. Now, he's sitting up in the stand. I said, well, I'm not going to do it, Dad, and he took off. So this other guy was going, well, you ought to do it just to see what happens. And so I got dressed, and I'm standing up in the stadium. And this girl comes up, are you Little Red? And I said, no, I'm not Little Red. Well, you going to do anything? And everybody was going to go down there. So like a dummy, I went down there, and I got on the field, and the student section saw me out there, and they went berserk. And it just went from section to section. The whole stadium was on their feet. My dad was up there, and he said, my mom was going to kill him for this.
Palmer kept on dancing, ignoring the recommendations of not only the student government, but the university president, Herbert Holloman. At the time, Randy's uncle was a Kiowa tribe chairman, and Randy was allowed to attend a meeting of tribal leaders from across the state.
And I asked these men, do you think it's degrading to the Indians to have an Indian dancer out there? And they signed a petition. All the tribal leaders in Oklahoma signed that petition except 3. So I said, well, I'll continue.
He continued even after the student government filed a temporary restraining order against him to prevent any dancing. He also faced 2 charges of contempt of student court. Law students and even state senators rushed to his defense.
We went to the state Supreme Court, and some way they had it expedited for them to rule on this, and they said, well, they're infringing on his right for free speech.
The OU student court relented and dropped the charges, and Palmer was allowed to perform as a rally leader. He traveled with the team for 2 seasons until he joined the Army.
In my travels as Little Red, I met a lot of people, and I took the time to explain. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions, you know, about the Indian people, but just need to sit down. You run into somebody that talks crazy, you know, you just sit down and say, no, that's not how it is.
That was nearly 50 years ago. Still, Randy's thoughts on the Native Mascot issue haven't changed much. He believes all the attention should be focused elsewhere.
There's homeless Indian veterans living on the street. There's Indian children going into gangs, selling drugs. There's Indian women being beaten. There's unemployment on these reservations. I try to do something about those problems. This, you know, it's both amusing to me and sad. If that's the focus of your energy, to do that, look around on the streets in these towns. See what's happening. We need to take care of those problems.
As long as there's a mascot issue in the United States, then it's never going to be right with Native people. And there's a lot of non-Indians who are supporting our position that it's a racist theory, you know, that a mascot is a sports entity that is fictional, and that it has no heart, it has no mind, but yet the mascot is used to portray, it portrays Native Americans, but the portraying is being done by white people or black people right now. I mean, the Washington Redskins, I mean, most of the players are black, but they don the headdresses and they make a mockery out of our spiritual ways. There's over 2,500 high schools in this country that it's called Indians, or it's called Chiefs, there's Squaws, and there's Braves, Princesses, those are all mascots. So in over 2,500 high schools in this country. And so to me, that's where a little bit of racism is being born. It's being born right there in those elementary schools, and they make it out of paper. They'll make the headdresses, and they'll sit or stand a certain way, and they'll go war whooping out there, and so it is racism being practiced at the elementary level, racism being promoted at the college level, and racism being perfected at the National Football League or Major League Baseball. So I think it's time that the mascots disappear completely.
When we bring up words like prejudice or even racism, ignorance is often at the root. Ignorance of Native American culture is on display almost every day at any number of athletic events nationwide. It's very common to see fans with fake war bonnets and painted faces. But one Kansas City man is working to educate those fans, and he's getting help from an NFL organization. We traveled with members of the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes to Kansas City for an American Indian Heritage Month celebration.
And as we go, dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you will be with us in everything that we do.
This opportunity that we have here at Arrowhead Stadium is one that shows the world and tomorrow in front of 70,000 people that we as Native people are still here today. This land around where we were in the Great Plains, we say at one time it was this collision of cultures. During removal, you have so many tribes that are present in this area, in the states, in the Chief's 5-state kingdom. And you know, there was a time of moving fires. The fact that we're here tomorrow and we're singing and we're praying, blessing this earth around us, and we're sharing and we're celebrating. It's a time that we show today we're a collaboration of cultures, that our fires still burn and our tribes and our Native people thrive, not only survive, but thrive and are successful today. This cross-cultural dialogue, I believe, will lead to very positive cultural change in not only the awareness and understanding of people that people may have of tribes and who Indian people are today, but also of the behavior you see at games with surrounding different mascot issues, and also the wearing of headdresses and face paint. It's an opportunity to educate on those precious cultural treasures and symbols that we hold dear to us as Indian people.
My thought was, you guys do certain things pregame all the time. You do the color guard, you sing the national anthem, you do certain little things. Well, let's do that, but let's do it with natives. And by doing it with natives, you're starting to put a real face on Native America. And I think that's what's missing. People don't understand what Native America looks like.
And then I'll walk out with you so we'll know where to go, and then we'll kind of half moon around you.
How far away did you guys drive in from?
Oklahoma, like mid-Oklahoma.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you want us facing that way?
No. Okay, so now I guess we're facing this way.
This way. Okay, we're
so we want you facing
right behind these people, behind the choir. Okay.
We're here for our folks, for our Native American folks, not just Cheyenne and Arapaho, but for everybody, you know. And to broaden these other people's minds that don't know about, you know, our story as Native peoples, you know, we're going to let them know about a little bit about who we are.
I know myself, I don't take no offense to any NFL team that has a Native American as a logo. So being here and being invited by them also shows that they are, you know, paying respect, paying tribute to the Native Americans.
To see the NFL team open it up, you know, there's so much controversy out here, you know, like the Redskins and other people protesting the Chiefs, you know, and doing something good for, hopefully for all Native Americans, you know.
It's a step in the right direction. Like I say, not all Native Americans agree with some of the logos that are being used in the NFL and other professional sports, but this team here has some history behind it. The drum that you see that we'll be using has some history behind it.
Be advised that the Scout Investments Club level gates will open in 15 minutes. Again, please be advised that the Scout Investments Club level gates will open in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody. Remember, we're going to go to the hash mark.
Hey.
Today's colors are presented by the Buddy Bond Color Guard of the Cheyenne Arapaho Tribe. The war bonnets that you see in today's ceremony are an earned symbol of high honor among the Plains Indians. Face paint, like the feathers of a war bonnet, is earned through actions and deeds that bring honor to both tribes and nations. The cultural treasures of feathers and paint are symbolic and spiritual.
Thank you. I just want to, on behalf of the Chiefs organization, the Hunt family, I want to welcome everyone here to Arrowhead Stadium, home of the loudest fans in the National Football League. And we're grateful and humbled by your presence here today.
When we made the announcement that we were going to be working with the Chiefs, everybody attacked us right away. And I said, we haven't done anything. How do you know that we're even going to fail? What do you know what we're even going to do? What the Chiefs have done is when they break away for commercials, they don't show those fans anymore. The Kansas City Star, same thing. Blair Kirkhoff and I talked. He said, you know, John, when we do a story, we don't call it the Washington Redskins, we call it Washington. I said, that's great, but you show every jackass with a headdress on Sunday, won't you? And he laughed, he says, no, you're right. And so the Kansas City Star has stopped that. And if you were looking for that, you wouldn't see it. And one of the things is you could be sitting in the stands right next to someone that's a quarter Choctaw and not know it, and you're offending your neighbor. And a lot of natives aren't real clear on the headdress and some of the other things that we do. So it's a win for everybody, and it's good for the fan base, and it's good for us as a group to be able to sit down and talk and maybe make positive changes. If I'm doing something to offend you or upset you, I'm not going to keep doing it because I don't want to do that. I want us to get along. And the Chiefs, it being a business, and we're in a new century, and times have changed. We're not back in the 60s. When back in the 60s, as I pointed out to the Chiefs, that was a white man's society. They picked who and did whatever they want. Black America didn't have a voice. Red America didn't have a voice. Women didn't have a voice. And all that started changing in the 60s. And then in the 70s, we got a chance to have our voice.
And we really liked that dialogue that we had with John, so much so that we started to talk about how can we communicate that? How can we use the platform of the National Football League and a Chiefs game to tell that story? We worked specifically with Gina Timberman and John Learned on crafting messages that communicate American Indian perspectives. And we use our AeroVision and our PA announcer to communicate those perspectives in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, so we can communicate those points. And we also provide them an opportunity to give packets of information away for people to find out more information, to dive deeper into the history, the heritage, the culture, and what's really important to American Indians.
My thought is it's not a sellout. All I'm trying to do is find a solution so all of our people can get along. I think what we're doing, some people said you're taking the high road, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm taking the red road.
I think it's more contemporary Native American. It's more contemporary work with the Native American feel, like Southern Plains feel. Every now and then I get tired of doing big canvas pieces, and I'll just get some pens out and do some drawing. And that's all this is. It's kind of therapeutic for me.
Art has always been Matt Bearden's therapy. From acrylics to oils, it's his connection to his Potawatomi heritage and his inner thoughts.
When I started out, like Jerome Tiger was my big influence, and I was just trying to find my way in my style. I'm still working on that, but I think I'm starting to take on more issues now.
Issues like native mascots. Not long ago, Bearden had a gallery showing titled Sacred Mascots with some thought-provoking images.
I think I kind of just fell into activism is what happened, because it stirred up some conversation. It's really what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to, knock you in the head with this is my stance. I wanted to get people to talk about it a little bit.
They talked plenty, mostly about this helmet. Matt created it as a way to explain the sensitivity of the native mascot issue to his wife.
I tried to tell her it would be like Notre Dame putting the Pope on their helmet, And of course, they're not called the Notre Dame Catholics, but we all know it's a Catholic school. We all know they would never put the Pope on their helmet. But I just try to explain to her that these headdresses, they're religious objects that you had to earn the right to wear. And, you know, people wearing them around at the games obviously haven't. And really, it's kind of offensive to put it on a football helmet if you think about it. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to paint the Pope on a helmet. And it just went from there. I didn't want to be in your face, just kind of wanted to give people a different perspective where they could look at it and go, okay, I kind of see where they're coming from, and not to like be in your face offensive. I didn't want it, because, you know, that can turn people off pretty quickly. And then they get defensive and they don't want to hear about it at all. I had it sketched out and I was putting some underpaint on it, and I was like, if you just glance at it, it looks like you automatically think it's a native wearing some kind of headdress. So your mind kind of gets trained to see that. So that's what we've been dealing with. I was approached by he didn't come out and tell me, but I'm pretty sure he was a Catholic man, and he didn't grill me, but we had a lengthy discussion about why I did this, and we left it there. We left on good terms, but I could tell he was almost a little upset about it. And there you go. You know, if you're upset about it, maybe you can see why Native Americans may be upset about some of these things. Take them personally.
And Bearden's not afraid to turn the critical eye to problems within Indian country.
There's a turn-of-the-century political cartoon that I found, and it was actually the agent, the reservation agent, tribal agent, who was raking in all the goods, you know, taking the food and selling it on the side and raking the money in. And I changed him into a tribal chairman or a chief with casino money on the side. And then on the other side is got the tribal member, you know, with the government cheese and the fishing bowl, and, you know, trying to find food. We have to talk about issues sometimes with our work. Instead of taking the easy road all the time, stick your neck out every now and then.
Probably the most well-known mascot controversy is that of the Washington Redskins. Native activist Suzanne Harjo led the first petition against the team's trademark back in 1992, and while she did receive favorable rulings, the case was eventually dismissed. Another group, led by Amanda Blackhorse, took up the petition in 2006, and to date has received not one, but 2 decisions to cancel the team's trademark. Those, of course, have been appealed, and Blackhorse knows her case will be a long one.
In the last 2 years, with the 2 victories that we've had, it's like a new energy burst. I think it's a renewal of energy, and just seeing the tremendous amount of support that we've gotten. It's been really, really great and rewarding after all these years. It was a huge victory because we had a federal judge affirming the fact that the R word was offensive. And if you go back into previous litigation, and even with the Harjo case, it was never fully affirmed that the word was disparaging, and you know that it's never was said in black and white on paper that, you know, this is a disparaging term. And so that was a huge victory in the appeal. I'm waiting for that day, that morning when I wake up and I see on the news that the Washington team has changed their name. And I think that's how it will happen. I think that it will happen just out of the blue, and it will be a name change to something else. But I'm always hopeful. I'm always a hopeful person. I don't know how many times I've heard that, that you Native American people have bigger issues. You Native American people should be worrying about alcoholism or violence or poverty and, you know, help the unemployment rate or whatever. If Native people look at themselves as mascots and see themselves as just symbols, how are they supposed to work on bigger issues in their community? How are they supposed to feel empowered to address big issues in their lives? And if the outside world only sees us as mascots and as symbols and stereotypes, how are we supposed to be respected in government and politics? How are we supposed to be respected as a group of people who are sovereign nations? Because until we get rid of those symbols, until we get rid of those stereotypes, we will always just be looked at as mascots.
It seems this controversy is not going away anytime soon, and whatever side you take, there will be opposition. The only way to resolve this issue is with meaningful conversation and a lot of understanding from everyone involved. Thanks for joining us.